This episode of the SlooPicks is brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company is an Ohio-based company where they usually say our season will take your barbecue from good to great. With great seasonings such as the Coffee and Q, the Smoked, S&P Bud, the Ope, and the Mad Hatter, you can't go wrong with any seasonings over at themadcanadianbbq.com. That is themadcanadianbbq.com. Be sure to use the promo code for the rest of this month, October, 1year20 at checkout for 20% off. That is one spelled out, ONEYEAR 20 at checkout. Be sure to check out the Mad Canadian social media for information on where he's going to be this weekend. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where he has your butt covered.
This episode of the SlooPicks also brought to you by the Iron Bean Coffee Company. That's right, guys. We got a new sponsor. Now, if you ever wondered what kind of coffee's in that coffee and Q, it's the Iron Bean Coffee Company. That's right. We have connections. This is a world-class hand-roasted micro-batch coffee. It is fresh roasted to your order. They don't roast the beans until you order it. This is a veteran-owned company. That's right, you're supporting veterans, and they have an amazing selection of coffee. They're out of Toledo, Ohio, Perrysburg, more specifically. All of their coffee is fair trade and USDA organic. They do have K-Cups available in some of their more popular flavors, free shipping over $50, and they have a subscribe and save service. All of this and more can be found at ironbeancoffee.com. That's ironbeancoffee.com, America's local coffee roaster.
I'll drink to that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Nice. Nice.
We have a coffee sponsor. I've always wanted a coffee sponsor. No.
Get ready, YouTubers. We are back to our Friday episodes. Normal Friday episodes.
We're going to do Know Your Enemy. We're not doing a lot of the in-show. Of course, none of you guys don't get any of the in-show music here on YouTube, but we've cut out a lot of our in-show music just to simplify the editing process. But if you think Know Your Enemy has gone anywhere, you are sorely mistaken.
Got to download and listen to that.
We've all heard the Rage Against the Machine song 1,000 times. It's fine. All right,
1,001.
All right, let's rejoin our audio listeners. We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the SlooPicks. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I am pumped.
Yes.
I am pumped. We are back to our normal Friday episodes.
Yes.
Normally.
Yes. Know Your Enemy has returned.
Yes,
we're
I'm so excited.
We're going to do
finally here.
We're going to do the rage drop. We have a coffee sponsor now. We've always wanted a coffee sponsor. I was just telling the YouTube people in our private aside that we have with the YouTube people while everyone else is listening to the music. I'm really excited about Iron Bean Coffee. I'm super excited. We have coffee and we have barbecue, and we had our first beer sponsor this year, and the door's not closed with Wolf's Ridge.
Yeah, a lot of firsts going on here. We have our first episode with the Iron Bean Coffee, and it's the first game of the year here for Ohio State.
That was implied when we said we're doing our first Friday episode, our first proper Friday episode in a long time, and we're doing Know Your Enemy. I think we all know the title of this episode is literally going to be Nebraska Ohio State preview. Like, it's implied.
Yes. All right, let's get into it. Yes. We have a lot to get.
Oh my God, here. Yes.
All right, let's jump into some Buckeye news here. We're Black Stripe updates here. We have, what do we have? 6. We have 6 players.
And they're coming fast. So we have 6 as of recording.
And just in time here, as 2 quarterbacks, C.J. Stroud and Jack Miller, have their black stripes removed just in time.
Yeah. It's about 7:30 on October 21st, just to put that timestamp on it. Kyle, first question. You think it's a coincidence that they removed the black stripe from both of the freshman quarterbacks at the same time?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Follow-up question. Do you really?
No.
Okay.
All right. And the other four here, Cody, Simon, Corey Rao. For those who don't know, he's a graduate transfer from Baylor who's playing in the also great tight end position. More on that here in a little bit. Jacob James, an offensive lineman, and Ryan Watts.
Yes. Yeah, lots of black stripes since we last talked to you, which for us was like 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm. All right. Some other news. Next weekend, the Ohio State Penn State game will be under lights and will be on ESPN at 7:30. It's going to be really interesting as we keep seeing mixed things from the Big Ten about how many fans can go in the stadium and this and that.
There's going to be no fans in the stadium. Like there'll be some fans in the stadium, but I believe they're like, it's not open ticket sale. It's like each player gets a few tickets for close family members. I think is that I think the Ohio State cap is something like 1,500. Something crazy low like that. I didn't put it in the notes. That number, it's basically nothing. Yeah,
there's a lot of debate about that, but I'm just happy there's football. I'll just put it that way. I'm just happy there's football.
We have too much to talk about today to get into.
Yep, agreed.
Any of that.
Other news here. A couple more. Artificial crowd noise is allowed in the stadiums. I know that's been a big topic in other games in the past few weeks, but the Big Ten has come out and said they will provide tracks.
Yeah.
They will be played at a very low volume.
Yeah, they're Big Ten provided tracks, so you can go ahead and just, like, there's not going to be any booze in there. Like, I think I've heard some NFL games where the refs will make a bad call, and by bad, I mean goes against the home team, and they'll, like, play the boo track. These are all coming directly from the Big Ten. I'm going to guess
the ref should have just looked up at the press box and be like, really?
That's good mic work, Kyle.
One other news, Haskell Garrett. We've mentioned him a number of times.
Yeah.
He's being ready to play and is day to day. If I'm Ohio State.
No, I think you misread that. Haskell Garrett being ready to play
is day to day. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. I now realize how I wrote that in the notes is confusing, and I apologize.
Yeah. He says it's a doctor's decision. He's in every meeting. He's in every walkthrough. He's doing everything a guy who was hoping to play would be doing.
Yeah. I don't know this to be true, but I have heard that he is taking contact reps in practice. I don't 100% know that to be true. That's something I've heard that I cannot confirm. But we talked to you guys a few weeks ago where we said Haskell Garrett was going to play this year, but it probably wouldn't be in the first game or two, but that we would see Haskell Garrett play this year, which,
yes,
considering what happened to him, and I'm assuming if you're listening to this podcast that you know what happened to Haskell Garrett. He was shot when trying to break up a random domestic issue that he happened across. So yeah, I'm happy Haskell Garrett's doing well. I'm happy that we're going to see him for his sake. Oh, I mean, also for our sake as fans. Yes, I'm also happy about that. But that's like 10%. I'm 90% happy that Haskell Garrett, for his own sake, is going to be on the field this year and participating.
Yep, absolutely. You know what else is back, Jared?
What's that?
Our game posters.
Yeah. Released a new game poster. You can find that on our Twitter page, our Instagram page, our Patreon page. Now you might, Jared, I'm not on Patreon. Guess what? The poster's not behind the wall. You can still go see it at patreon.com/SloopCast. The SloopCast? I forget. You can find it in the master link. It's on Reddit. It's on the Buckeye Scoop forum. It's a lot of places. I posted it a lot of places.
And if you like it so much,
it's also in our TeePublic page.
There we go.
You can buy your very own print of it, or get it on a T-shirt or a coffee mug. It's a poster. All of our game posters this year are based off of movie posters.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, a bunch of the posters were based off of propaganda posters, but I didn't necessarily.
Jared.
Yeah. It wasn't so much propaganda posters as it was like old-fashioned posters. And that one's actually based on, I think it was Ali Frazier, I think is what that one's based off of. So it wasn't like propaganda poster, not in a literal sense, but more in a stylistic sense. It's just stuff from that era more than it is.
Yep.
But, yeah, sorry.
But yeah, definitely check them out.
Yeah. But they're 100% movie posters this year. And the Nebraska one is Children of the Corn.
Yes. Turned out really well.
Thank you.
One last news here. LSU.
Yeah.
LSU has self-imposed penalties for football violations connected to booster payments, including reduction in 8 scholarships. The school is also banning OBJ from its facilities for 2 years for handing out cash. Just in plain, right on the field, like, hey, here's your money.
Yeah, this isn't just that. There was also issues with boosters. They ran this investigation with the NCAA, but that does not mean that the NCAA is going to 100% accept these self-imposed violations. There very well could be more violations tacked on top of this. And I want to go ahead and tell LSU, from an Ohio State fan who went through this less than 10 years ago, go ahead and just take that bowl ban right now.
Yep. You're already seeing how your year's going.
Yeah. We see how not good you are. We see how good you are this year. Go ahead and just take that bowl ban. Go ahead and just take it. Take the bowl ban.
Just do it.
Just take that bowl ban.
Rip that Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Rip it.
First reported by SI.
Yes. Yep.
All right, let's do a couple Ask SlooPicks questions that are pertinent to this section of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Tanner Gale, who, by the way, is also our guest picker. More on that later. Tanner Gale asks us, do you guys have a surprise/breakout player to watch for the Nebraska game or just for the season in general?
So for this game, well, depends on what you mean by the breakout. You could say
you can Kyle, you can give one answer for a breakout for casual fans, and also a breakout for people who are, let's say, more than casual fans.
I would say because he didn't get to play against Ohio State last year, the standout receiver Wandel Robinson.
I think he means for Ohio State, but please.
For Ohio State. Okay,
yeah.
My mistake. Breakout for
in the Nebraska game.
Got it. Oh boy.
I would say for the season in general, probably also for this game, but wide receivers are wide receivers. They can go ham one game and disappear the next. That's just the nature of the position. But we've all been talking about Jamison Williams.
Yes.
I think that's a name that people who listen to this podcast probably know, and people who are on the Buckeye Scoop forum probably know, but even your more than casual football fan probably doesn't know. For your casuals, for people who basically just really like Ohio State and they turn the game on and maybe they read an article once or twice a week, Trey Sermon, I think is a name he's going to make an immediate impact.
That was the first one that came to my mind, because you think about what happened 3 years ago. Time's escaping me.
Just don't with the time.
When J.K. Dobbins came in, we were like, oh, we got this like new freshman. All of a sudden came in and he made just a big splash from day one.
And that'll be your at least 2 freshman wide receivers as well.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's a name that people listening to this podcast, whether it be Mookie Cooper, Smith Njimba, G. Scott,
Fleming.
Fleming, thank you. I couldn't think of Fleming's name for some reason. one of those guys are going to make a bunch of people, again, more casual fans, but is going to make a bunch of people just go, who's that guy? And then you, like the people who live and breathe this stuff, will then get to turn to your, I'm going to say boyfriend. I don't want to gender things. So you, the female listener of this podcast who knows all sorts of things, can turn to your boyfriend and go, that's Jackson Smith Ninjimba. No, it's pronounced Ninjimba. Come on, what are you, the Sloopcast? Mispronouncing his name? See what I mean? That's just how that works.
Yes. All right. Some quickly over here, some quick over-unders from Austin Formation. All right.
Yes.
I'm going to guess this is just for this game here. So
I would hope so.
Yeah. Jeremy Ruckert, over under 2.5 catches.
Over.
Under. Ooh. I'm going to say for this game under, because of what you just said just moments ago. All of those wide receivers coming in and out there. I know it's the year of the tight end. I know it is.
It's always the year of the tight end.
And I've seen reports too. And
it's the year of the tight end. It's always the year of the tight end until it isn't. But here's the thing. It's typically not the year of the tight end by like week 2 or 3. It's still week 1, baby. Give me the over.
I saw, and I'm having a hard time finding it right now, but I did see a report about formations that used 1 and even a lot of 2 tight end sets too. And I'm like, oh, this is the year. This is the year 2020 here.
That was a Buckeye Scoop Nevada nugget. Is where you saw that. That
was, yes.
Yeah, he said that they're using 2 tight end formations because this ain't your Urban Meyer's Ohio State anymore. We're getting at least a dash of Kevin Warren on this now. Excuse me. Oh my God. I committed the sin. Kevin Wilson. I'm sorry, Kevin Wilson. I'm sorry. We love Kevin Wilson. We fire Kevin Warren. All right.
Yes. Hashtag.
Justin Fields, over under 20.5 pass attempts.
Over.
I think the only way this is under is if this game is over by halftime. I think the only way he stays under 20 is if he makes less than 2 or 3 pass attempts in the second half. Is about the only way that stays under 20. So a lot of that just depends upon how many yards per pass he's going to get. And a lot of that just depends upon how well the defense plays, stuff like that.
Yes, I'm going to give you a little bit of stats real quick here. Number of games Justin Fields had this right here under 20.5 pass attempts. How many games last year?
Oh, we don't have time to do a big guessing game. You just
just this one here. 20.5. How many games did he have last year under?
0?
1.
Okay.
That was against Rutgers.
Okay, fair enough. You know what? Right. Kyle convinced me. Over.
All right. Ohio State total points. Over under 49.5.
A little bit of a sneak peek to the SlooPicks later. I have Ohio State scoring 49. So great job. I'm going to go ahead and go over.
I'm going to go over as well. Ohio State
but that's a perfect number.
Ohio State defensive turnovers. Over under 2.5. Now remember last year, Ohio State did a really good job against Nebraska early on with early turnovers and really set the tone. I think it was like 3 turnovers in like the first quarter, maybe like first quarter and a half, something like that. They had 3 turnovers and really set the tone at. So good job on that number there. Again, 2.5. I'm going to say under because I think Nebraska is going to learn from their mistake last year and try to not to be cute with the ball. And they saw what happened last year when they turned the ball over. I think almost every single time they turned the ball over, it led to Ohio State points. Yeah,
Martinez is a year older and Dedrick Mills is a year older. I think that they have really good experience along the offensive line. I don't see this being a mistake-prone Nebraska. I'm going to go under. 3 turnovers is a lot. So I'm going to go under. I think a lot of that just depends upon Martin. I mean, obviously, it always depends upon the quarterback, so that's a stupid thing to say. But
Yep.
I'm gonna go under. But it's a good question.
All right, over under 1.5 total punts for Chrisman. I'm going to say over. 1.5 for the first team.
Well,
that's different, but 1.5 for the game, over.
That's. You see, does Ohio State have a second punter they'd put in? I don't feel like they do because Chrisman probably needs the reps.
No, what I meant was when the first team.
I know what you mean.
Okay.
I'm also asking the question: in the fourth quarter, does a different punter come in? So I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna go over, just because to suggest there will only be one punt. Nebraska's not Rutgers, so I'm gonna go over here. We are very.
Oh no, he's actually a commit. I'm looking at a chart here. So no, they do not have a. Oh, actually, their backup punter. Their backup punter is either is one of their two kickers. So
do they not have a backup punter? Do they not have a backup punter on scholarship?
At least not on scholarship.
I guarantee there's probably someone on the team.
Yep. All right, last one here. Over under 5.5 total team sacks. I'm going to go with under just because of Martinez and how he's able to run the ball and how he's able to scramble. I'm going to go under.
Yeah, and all 5 returning offensive linemen, and 5 is just a big number. You can put a lot of pressure on Martinez and disrupt his game and disrupt the offense without actually getting the sack. So I'm going to go under on that, but that does not mean that Ohio State won't affect Martinez with the pass rush.
Agreed. Yep.
All right, Justin Fields, 450 passing yards or 150 rushing yards. Which would be more surprising?
I would say the rushing.
Yeah.
Just because of what Ohio State has. And if it's 150 rushing yards, that means that there's issues with the running game.
Yeah, you have Gunnar Hoke, who is Gunnar Hoke, and 2 true freshman quarterbacks, and we're trying to win a national title this year. I just don't want Justin Fields to be running the ball that much.
And honestly, both are staggering because Fields has only thrown over 300 yards twice.
Over 300?
Only twice.
Yeah. You can't expect him to have. I mean, both would be surprising, as Kyle just said, but I just don't want Justin Fields to be running the ball the number unless he breaks a 99-yarder and a 51-yarder. I don't want Justin Fields having 150 yards rushing the ball.
All right. If the O-line is as predicted, do you foresee teams attacking the right tackle spot with the newest starter / least experienced player? And what schematic things can Ohio State do to cover for that player until they get up to speed? Well, adding a tight end always helps. Or your running back being able to help chip in as well, like do a chip block as well.
Yep. Yeah, all of those things, as Kyle said, you can just sort of shift the entire offensive. You can put the tight end on the other side, but then have every offensive lineman sort of take a right step first. Whoever they put in at right tackle, I have the utmost faith in. I really like NPF. I think that a lot of what we were talking about with Paris Johnson Jr. and what the coach is talking about, I think a lot of that is them just bolstering up the freshmen.
Yeah, and a lot of it's going to be how Nebraska is going to be really attacking defensively, because they do run a 3-4 defense. So you're not going to see a lot of defensive ends really coming at it. There's just 3 big defensive linemen just trying to clog up the holes there.
Yeah,
it's
but
really going to be on the linebackers to make plays.
Well, but with a 3-4, one of your linebackers are typically coming. So how would you scheme against a inexperienced right tackle? Well, you bring more of your blitzes to that side.
Yes. Yep.
But Ohio State then just sort of counters by lining up the running back on that side, lining up the tight end on that side, just to sort of give those guys a bit of a step up.
Yep. All right. Last question here. Name one thing you would rather do than go another week without finally watching some Buckeye football.
I forget who said it, but someone in our Discord responded to this with have dinner with Kevin Warren, which quite frankly, I would love to have dinner with Kevin Warren, but I think there's like a tone of, and you have to be nice. Just let's play some football.
Yes.
Let's just play some football. All right, Kyle. We're about to do the Sloop picks. Let's hear from one of our sponsors first. Do you want to go or should I go?
Let's let our new friend over at the Iron Bean Coffee Company go at it.
Yeah, the Iron Bean Coffee Company. Iron Bean Coffee Company is a premium small batch roast to order veteran owned company. You're supporting veterans with the purchase of your coffee. Now, you might go there and you might see that the prices are a tad higher than maybe you're used to paying for coffee. But let me let you know, one, it's a full pound. A lot of places sell you a quote unquote pound of coffee and it's actually 12 ounces. This is a full pound. They're fair trade certified and USDA organic coffee beans. They import directly from Colombia, Brazil, Uganda, Honduras, Peru, and Ethiopia. One of their slogans is integrity. It's their core value that they do the right thing even when no one's looking. Let's see. Let's talk about one of their coffees real quick. Let's talk about the Odin. They have 3 coffees based off of Greek gods. But we won't talk about Thor or Loki right now. Right now, we'll talk about Odin. This is a dark roast coffee. Will keep you fighting long after you should have gone to Valhalla. That's the Odin. Just so you know, the Thor is a medium dark and the Loki is a medium light. That's just one of a bunch of different great coffees over at ironbeancoffee.com. ironbeancoffee.com. America's local coffee roaster.
All right, let's go ahead and go into our Sloop picks here, Jared.
Let's go into the Sloop picks.
All right, first game we have here, Jared, is Oklahoma taking on TCU. Oklahoma is a 7.5 point favorite.
I have a really hard time figuring out who the hell Oklahoma is right now. And ultimately, they're a team that can't play defense. I think that's the one thing we really do know about Oklahoma. So I think what I want to do here is just sort of take the points and walk away.
Mm-hmm.
So TCU at 7.5. I'm going to take TCU at 7.5, I think. Had it been 3, 4, 5, then probably go with Oklahoma. You get me over that touchdown mark, especially in a game that, because it's a Big 12 game played at noon, it could very well be a triple overtime game. Let me go ahead and just let's take that 7.5 point buffer and walk away. So I'm gonna go TCU.
I agree. Yeah, I'm going to pick TCU as well. I just don't trust Oklahoma's defense, and TCU. I know on record they're showing 1-2, but both of their games they lost closely. But yeah, 7.5 is quite a bit for what I think is going to be a close game as well. So yeah, I'll pick the Horned Frogs here.
All right, Kyle. Next up, we have Iowa State going to Oklahoma State.
Let's hear from Tanner.
Darn it!
Hear from Tanner.
I always do that.
All right, Tanner says here, TCU has played 3 close Big 12 games against 2 opponents who are playing on a similar level as Oklahoma. That is with Kansas State and Texas, and a quality Iowa State team. Plus, after watching Oklahoma versus Texas, I feel like Oklahoma is actively trying to lose games this year. I trust TCU to at least keep it close. I'll take TCU to cover.
All right, we are all in agreement.
Spot on. All right, what do we got next, Jared?
Iowa State going to Oklahoma State. Iowa State's 3-1. Oklahoma's 3-0. Oklahoma's had a few games shit canned. Let's see. This is being played at 3:30, and Iowa State, Kyle, is a 3.5 point favorite.
This one's tough because I had Iowa State to being in contention, be right there for the Big 12 title and all that. But
you picked Iowa State to go to the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah. But I don't know, just something about Oklahoma State. I think they learned from week 1.
Yeah.
And I think they'll show up better, and I think they'll cover here.
Fair enough. I like Iowa State. The Big 12 is just such a mess in general that I kind of just once again feel the need to just take the underdog and take the points and walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let me just walk away with the underdog. Let me walk away with the points on my side. Because with these Big 12 games, man, I just feel like they can go either way because it feels like such a hodgepodge right now. So I'm going to take the points, walk away. We're going with the underdog. Give me Iowa State.
All right, sounds good.
So we differ on that one.
Yep. All right, next up here.
What's Tanner say?
Thank you. Tanner, I was
it was your turn to forget.
Kyle has Iowa State, so I will strategically take Oklahoma State.
It's weird for him to go out on that limb and then to be wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right, Jared. First Big Ten game.
Finally.
First Big Ten game that we are going to go over is Penn State and Indiana. And yes, this is correct here. Penn State is a 6.5 point favorite.
I kind of want to take Indiana just because this feels like a trap. Does this feel like a trap to you?
No.
Because I feel like at the very least, this should be 7.5.
No.
At the very least, it should be 7.5. I think it probably should be something more like, Kyle, where would you have guessed this game would be?
I would have put like 13.5.
I mean, I was thinking 14, but yeah. Yeah. It feels like a trap. So I kind of want to take Indiana. I feel like we're walking into a trap here, but screw it. Let's take Penn State. I feel like I'm walking into a trap, but let's do it. Let's take Penn State. It feels too obvious.
Speaking of traps that coming up here in a couple of games, but you got Indiana, you said?
No. I'm taking Penn State. I'm just saying it feels like a trap.
Okay. All right. We both got Penn State here.
Star Wars meme goes here.
All right. Penn State, Tanner says here, no Micah Parsons for the Nittany Lions.
Nope.
Could spell trouble for that defense against a talented Michael Penix Jr.
Oh, okay.
Furthermore,
how much deeper does it go than Penix?
Furthermore, I expect Indiana to step up and beat either Penn State or Michigan this year to claim their spot as the number 3 team in the East. Ooh. He has Indiana to cover.
Okay. You know what? I'm telling you, Penn State, this game feels like a trap. So respect, Tanner. Respect.
Yeah, I mean, Tanner's beating us both so far. So
where we don't have room to talk.
Yes, exactly. All right. Next up here we have this one for you Ohio State fans. Might want to cover your ears here for these teams. It's Iowa and Purdue.
Yeah.
Iowa is a 3.5 point favorite. Who do you have here, Jared?
These two teams feel like a lot of unknowns to me. Purdue lost some players, then they got their players back. Players who opted out and opted back in. Most notably, how am I going to blank on his name? I can only think of Rondale Moore. I got there. I can only think of Wandel Robinson because I'm so Nebraska focused right now. But Rondale Moore, this is kind of my recurring theme this week. Iowa had a lot of off the field issues this year, a lot of controversies behind the scenes. How does that affect them culturally in a season where having a good locker room culture feels like the most important possible thing you could have? I got to go with Purdue, and that's only because I have no idea who's going to win this game. I don't think Iowa's anything special this year. I think Purdue's a team, a franchise in general, program rather, that's just trending upwards, and I think Nebraska might be trending downwards. So go ahead and just give me once again, I'm going to take the points. I'm going to walk away. Go ahead. I'm going to pick the underdog. I'm going to take the points. I'm going to walk away.
Yeah. I just think there's just so much distraction going on in Iowa right now. It's maybe this is just because of how well he played against Ohio State. But yeah, I just like Wandel more just to really pick up where he left off and make a difference in this game.
Absolutely.
So I got the Boilermakers.
Boiler up.
All right, Tanner. Tanner says here, I was leaning Iowa. Then I heard that Jeff Brom caught the Rona, and that solidified my pick. I believe that Purdue having to play without their head coach, which is another point.
Yeah.
Without their head coach in the season opener, a game where so much is still being figured out on both sides of the ball, with limit their ability to adjust to what Iowa throws at them and ultimately leads to their demise. He does have Iowa to cover.
Real quick, we talked about this last week because of Nick Saban, and it turned out Nick Saban was, and we didn't know it at the time, but a false positive, or at least it looks that way. Since then, Dan Mullen at Florida, along with a bunch of Florida players, their entire program is basically on hold right now in Florida, tested positive. And as Tanner just pointed out, Jeff Brom has tested positive and won't be on the sidelines this week for Purdue. And so last week I talked a lot about culture. Culture. How important is culture when sort of putting together a college football program, right? It's, I think, maybe one of the most important things. And that's one of the things I was talking about on last Friday's episode. And then I'm watching the Big Noon Kickoff show with Urban Meyer. And I have to say, my head, I was like the Grinch, except it was my head grew 3 sizes that day. Because what did Urban Meyer say were the 2 most important things that a head coach does? In fact, to the point that he said if he wasn't doing one of those 2 things, he was wasting his time, and that he left a note on his desk telling him this. Culture building and talent acquisition. And he was talking about this also in the context of coaches missing games due to coronavirus. He goes, the head coach's main job is to build a culture and to acquire talent. And basically neither of those things are done on game day. Yep. Jeff Brom has built a culture at Purdue. It's a good culture. I know that because the program in general is trending upwards. He's doing a good job with talent acquisition, the best we've seen by Purdue standards in a long time. I think Jeff Brom's doing a good job there, and I don't think missing a single game, even if it's the first game, completely throws the team off of their rails.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, next up here, speaking of trapped games, game day. Michigan and Minnesota.
Yeah, this is being played at 7:30. As Kyle pointed out, this is our game day special for the week. Mm-hmm. Michigan's going to Minnesota. Minnesota favored by 3.5 points.
Michigan is favored by 3.5 points.
Excuse me. Michigan favored by 3.5 points. My turn or your turn, Kyle?
It is my turn.
I have a feeling
we are rowing this boat to victory.
That damn boat.
We are rowing this boat to victory.
Yep. So, I mean, for 3.5 points, I am.
Yes.
This is a game. Once again, it's my theme this week. It was accidental. I promise you, this isn't like a strategy I'm going to stick to from here on out or anything else like that. Mm-hmm. But for this week, it was in fact my strategy. I'm taking the underdog. I feel like both teams have an equal chance of winning this game in my head. So I'm just going to take the underdog.
Yep.
I think Michigan-Minnesota is a real coin flip of a football game. And I actually kind of lean Minnesota. Again, why? I think one team has a culture that is trending up, and I think you have one team that has a culture that is trending down. And once again, as culture is always important, but because of this season being what this season is, and 2020 as a world being what 2020 is, culture, which was maybe the most important thing, is just even more important this year. And again, one team's on the ups, the other team's on the down. Row that damn boat.
Yep. Tanner, I would never pick that team up north. Muck Fishigan, row the boat. Tanner Morgan, great name. Give me Minnesota.
Fair enough.
All right, last game.
No,
not second to the last game.
There you go.
Virginia and Miami. of Florida.
We're the only podcast in the world that says Miami of Florida.
The Hurricanes is an 11.5 point favorite. It is your pick, Jared.
I'm gonna go Miami. I don't. The ACC is such a clusterfuck in my head. I don't know. Give me Miami. That's it. That's my expert analysis.
I got Miami as
Miami is my expert analysis.
Yeah, I got Miami as well. But Jared, is the ACC as great as what you claimed it to be at the start of the season?
It's impossible to tell because the conferences are only playing each other. I feel like the only reason we all know that the Big 12 is bad is because they spent a week playing Sun Belt teams and got their ass kicked.
That is true. Yeah.
I don't know. They're only playing each other. How do we know?
Yeah. Tanner says here, Miami built trust by smashing Louisville and Florida State. Ruined that trust by not showing up against Clemson, then rebuilt it by covering versus Pitt. Virginia has lost by at least 17 to Wake Forest and NC State, who are both lesser opponents than Miami. He likes Miami to cover.
That's much better sounding analysis than I had.
Yes. All right, Jared. It is time.
Okay.
Nebraska heading on to Columbus to take on what Jared likes to call the Fighting Buckeyes.
Kyle, did you say Columbus?
I sure did.
Did you say Nebraska?
Might have.
Did you say Columbus?
For a second time, yes.
We're out of practice on this, aren't we? Did you say the horseshoe?
I sure did.
Okay. Did you say fighting?
I said the Buckeyes.
You said the Fighting Buckeyes.
I said the Fighting Buckeyes.
Or Buckeyes.
It is time, Jared, to know your enemy.
Hi, YouTube. This is a short music break. Shh. Know your enemy. The Nebraska Cornhuskers. Kyle, we're going to get to know our enemy, but first, do we want to get to know our sponsor, the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company?
Yes, the Mad Canadian. Mad Canadian has been a good friend of ours for the past year, sponsoring the SlooPcast here, and he's celebrating a 1-year anniversary by giving out a 20% off promo code by using the code 1year20, one spelled out ONEYEAR 20 at checkout for 20% off for the entire month of October. If you're missing this in October, you can still use SlooPcast 10 at checkout. Mad Canadian, what have we not said about the Mad Canadian? We've said just about everything in the past year here about how he's mad as a hatter. He has all these different seasonings.
He sends me angry emails.
He sends you angry emails, messages. You shouldn't tug on his beard and all of this stuff. Some of the other great seasonings.
Guys, look me straight in the eyes. Straight in the eyes. Straight in the eyes. Don't tug on his beard.
You're making me cough, Jared. Mad Canadian, great seasonings. Mention a few at the beginning of the show. Name a few other ones. The Brits Blend, the Savory, Kerry Steak, and the Old Fashioned. Just a few of the great seasonings on over at the MadCanadianBBQ.com. That is the MadCanadianBBQ.com. You got to be sure to check out all the social medias of the Mad Canadian to check out where he is heading next. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where he has your butt covered.
All right, Kyle, back to the Cornhuskers.
Yes. It is
time to know our enemy.
So long since we've done one of these.
It's been a real
Nebraska
long time.
Taking on Ohio State. Ohio State is a 26.5 point favorite.
26.5 points.
Yes. Kind of a review from Nebraska last year. They finished the season last year 5-7, 3-6 in the Big Ten, and they return quite a few good key players from last year, including their quarterback Adrian Martinez, the running back Dedrick Mills, And wide receiver Wandel Robinson. For those who don't remember, Wandel Robinson actually missed the Buckeye game last year, which definitely was noticeable as Ohio State just mopped the floor out of Nebraska last year.
Yeah, and it also should be noted, and I think I already pointed it out at least once this episode, 5 offensive linemen returning.
Yes.
So a real stable returning unit here for the offense. Your quarterback, your top running back, your 5 offensive linemen, and your best wide receiver. Of course, if you're Nebraska, you want to see Wandel Robinson stay a bit healthier this year, but he's a true sophomore. You can't hold 1 year of injuries against the guy per se. But even missing games last year, he had 40 receptions for 450 yards and 2 touchdowns. But much like, not so much as of late, or maybe even in the future for Ohio State, not just a receiver. He sort of plays that flex role. He also had 88 rushes last year for 3 touchdowns and nearly 350 yards. You can basically think of him, and I know Ohio State fans don't like to hear this name, but he's basically Rondell Moore, but in red.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Their running back, Deontay Williams, returns. A solid running back. I'm not going to call him a really good running back, but he's a solid running back for Nebraska. Probably the key thing for Nebraska is they add in a JUCO wide receiver, Omar Manning, big wide receiver. Ohio State's really going to have to watch out. 6'4", 225-pound wide receiver. He was an All-American last year in, I forget what exactly the division's called. But
well, it's a junior college. It was Kilgore College, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
He had 34 receptions, 727, and 6 touchdowns last year as a sophomore. But definitely keep an eye out. I mean, 6'4", 225. That's a big guy trying to cover. That's almost a tight end right there trying to cover. So that's going to be probably one of my key things for Ohio State defensive backs, as we mentioned before. You have probably Shaun Wade covering Wandel Robinson. Who's going to cover? Well, who's going to cover him there?
I think it'll be interesting to see who they match up against whom, because Wandel's a slot guy. He's their favorite guy. He's kind of like KJ Hill. He's not like a quote unquote number 1 receiver type, because he's a slot guy. Same thing if you think of like Curtis Samuel. Not like the wide receiver, but still a guy who catches a ton of balls. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. Will Ohio State try and go best on best, including moving Shaun Wade potentially with Wandel Robinson, which could in fact move him into the slot? Yep. Which is, Shaun Wade came back specifically not to play the slot this year. That was one of his main motivations for coming back.
Yeah. All right. Just some other names to keep an eye out on the defensive side. Returning players, linebacker Colin Miller was a very solid inside linebacker for Nebraska last year. He had nearly 70 tackles and 5.5 tackles for loss last year. One of their better defensive backs to return, Cam Taylor, who had nearly 50 tackles and a pair of interceptions last year. And keeping an eye on the big slobs on their defensive side, Ben Still and their nose tackle, Damian Daniels. Just a couple of names to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, that being said, unlike the offense, which feels like a very stable group of returning veterans, the defense, not so much. Thayer Munford said in some press availability this week that he specifically pointed out that one of the challenges they're going to have with the Nebraska defense is not knowing who's going to start or play. He sort of points out that a lot of the time with a Big Ten opponent, you at least have a few games of tape to look at. And, last year they did start with a Big Ten game, but that's the exception, not the rule. Mm-hmm. And so here we are only playing Big Ten teams, at least during the regular season this year. So it's a bit of a challenge to sort of walk into a Big Ten game completely fresh. especially as Thayer Munford pointed out, they're not really sure who's going to be playing.
Yep.
And if we can jump back over to the offense real quick, yes, Adrian Martinez is returning, but don't be surprised if we see some competitive snaps potentially they have a new quarterback, Luke McCaffrey. Tough Borland talked about how they have to be ready for both and that they're preparing for both. Scott Frost says that they aren't going to announce much of a depth chart, but that Adrian Martinez will start at quarterback, but that both he and Luke McCaffrey are capable of moving the ball.
Yep.
So we're gonna potentially, it's one of the interesting things to keep an eye on. It's one of those unknowns. It's a known unknown. Will we see Luke McCaffrey take competitive snaps this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. Both Greg Madison and Tough Borland talked about Wandel Robinson, saying about he's a threat, he's a great athlete. They did a lot of things to prepare for him, trying to cover every base, and when it comes to defending him, he's their top threat for that offense.
Yeah, that's, I think we aren't doing the sloop sayers like we did in the past, just because we've been running over on time a lot lately. So we just kind of cut it for time. But if we were still doing the sloop sayers and we were still predicting like the number one guy to keep an eye out for, it's Wandel Robinson. First, second, third, fourth, and fifth.
Mm-hmm. You could argue Adrian Martinez too. I mean, he's your do-it-all quarterbacks. I mean, he led the team in rushing attempts last year,
which I think is just a bad sign for your offense overall.
Yeah. And what does that say about the offensive line too? I know you said that all 5 return, but is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I mean, good thing chemistry-wise, but I don't know. We'll see.
I think we'll see. Another quote from Scott Frost in regards to their quarterback. He says, "I think we have our 2 first-string quarterbacks." I think that's an interesting way to frame that. He doesn't say we have our 2 deep. He says, "I think we have our 2 first-string quarterbacks." You could easily count that as we
don't have a quarterback.
Wow, I wasn't going there. I was going to say you could easily interpret that in one of 2 ways. Now, if we took it as complete face value, he's saying he has a 1A and a 1B. Mm-hmm. He could have meant we have a clear number 1 and a clear number 2. That's not what he said, but he could have meant that. But then he does go on to say that there isn't a lot of separation, and kind of implied that the experience is the only reason that Adrian Martinez is going to start. Again, he didn't specifically say that was the only reason, but that's kind of the implication if you parse the words. So I interpret that as potentially meaning, and maybe their expectations are in line for what they can expect to happen against Ohio State. But if we don't see Adrian Martinez move the ball or run the offense in a manner that Scott Frost wants to see, that we could very well see Luke McCaffrey come in.
Mm-hmm. Remember, I mean, it was almost 10 years ago when Ohio State played Nebraska. I think it was the first time they faced each other as Big Ten opponents, I believe.
That was the lost season in 2011.
Mm-hmm. And that was the game Ohio State lost. We have 2 quarterbacks, but really didn't.
Kyle, I, like the rest of Buckeye Nation, have retained no memories from that season, except the Wisconsin game. We all remember the Wisconsin game, only because of Braxton Miller. Everything else from that season, flushed.
Yes.
Flushed.
All right. Anything else about this team? Anything else about this Nebraska team that our listeners should know about?
It's hard to go as in depth on this as we'd like to, simply because it's the first game of the season. We haven't seen Nebraska yet. I just want to say, I want to take this as an opportunity once again if they're maybe, I know we acquired a lot of Cornhusker followers on Twitter over this tumultuous offseason, that I once again just want to thank Cornhusker Nation. If not for Ohio State and if not for Nebraska, both, your lawyers, your parents, your players, your coaches, your administrators, along with all of that, but over here as well, I don't think Ohio State and Nebraska or anyone else in the Big Ten are playing this weekend, nor are they playing this calendar year. So this is just me sincerely talking to any Nebraska fans or podcasts or whoever might be listening in this week. Thank you. And also, I'm sorry, because I think we're going to crush you. So I'm sorry for what's about to happen, but thank you.
Well,
with all sincerity, thank you.
We do have to pick this game, though. I know we normally have this.
And do a final score.
Yep. Our Sloop, since we don't have the Sloop sayers here, 26.5 is the over-under for this game. I have Ohio State to cover. And my point total is 66.
Well, we're not doing that. You have to do a final score, Kyle.
Oh, final score. That's right. Let's see, a total of 66. So let's do Ohio State. Let's do Ohio State 52, Cornhuskers 14.
There's no way that equals 66.
52 plus 14 is 66.
You said 52.
52.
I heard 42.
52.
We'll know later because this is recorded what you said.
I know what I said. 52.
I heard 42.
52.
Okay. You know what the funny thing is? I also have a 66. But we got there differently because I said 49-17.
Okay.
Which is a point differential of 32, which means I'm going with Ohio State.
All right. Tanner says, it's fun making new friends, right? But you know what's more fun? Winning a national championship, and that road starts here. Yeah. Clemson has shown its cards by stomping on Georgia Tech 73-7. I want to compare Nebraska to Georgia Tech, but okay. Clemson is not messing around, and it's time that goes both ways. Buckeyes cannot afford any tight games, or they have zero shot at the 1 seed, which we mentioned is a crucial one, as we saw last year. He has the Buckeyes winning 55, Nebraska 10, and that is a cover.
And he also goes under us. So
he has 65.
Oh, 65.
Yeah, 65 as the point total. He has Buckeyes 55,
okay.
Nebraska 10.
I did hear that right. So he's but my point is that he's just under us. Yes. So if it comes down to a tiebreaker, no one's got a t-shirt off of us yet. And he's already claimed he wants a DBU shirt. He's already put the order in. He's confident. He wants one of our Buckeye Sloopcast DBU shirts. But yeah, he's just under us. So from a Price is Right standpoint, although not, you know what I mean. It's a great strategy. It's after the fact, so it's incidental. But that's still fun nonetheless.
It is,
all right.
Yes.
Let's see. What else? I had something. Oh yeah. So about Tanner said something about making friends and all that. I just want to say, friendships last a lifetime, but national titles last longer than that.
True.
They don't put dates up in Ohio Stadium for friendship. That's all I'm saying.
You know, just a quick question here, Jared. Because I know Fox did this against the Oklahoma-Texas game. They said, hey, what do you want our choice camera to be? Their choices here. I just want your thoughts here. Do you want their choice camera to look over Ohio State offense, Ohio State defense, all Nebraska, or the trenches?
Trenches. No. I honestly would love it, and I know I'm the only person on the planet who wants this because they kind of played around with it a couple years. ESPN, I believe, did in an Ohio State game a couple years ago, where they were like doing a camera from like way up under a scoreboard, and it was basically like a real zoomed out Madden view, and everyone was bitching even though it was in junk time anyway. I would love that. I would love nothing else that
the Madden view.
If these games were broadcast in Madden view, so we could actually see the wide receivers, we could see what the quarterback sees, we could see holes in the offensive line. The only reason why we like the camera angle that is the standard is because it's the standard. It's because it's what we're used to. If we just forced the Madden view down everyone's throats for a year, we'd all get used to it, and we would all be like, a year later, everyone would be like, man, I hated that at first, but now that I'm used to it, I love Madden view. That's all I want. We got these beautiful cable cameras now that fly around. You could put it right behind, I mean, obviously not right behind, but behind the quarterback. Like I said, it's such a superior view. You can actually see all 22 of the players. You can actually see where holes open up in an offensive line. Why are we not using Madden view on television? It's because we're not used to it. It deviates from the norm.
You know, it'd be really impressive.
What's that?
When there's a turnover, the camera would be able to do a 180 then.
I'm not trying to get fancy. I just want to watch games in Madden view. That's all I want. I don't think that's a ridiculous. I mean, it is ridiculous because it's such a deviation from the norm, but that's the only reason why we don't want it, is because it deviates from the norm.
You know what? Why not? 2020.
I think it's because we're all dealing with enough change right now that the last thing anyone should be doing is forcing unwanted change on people who are already being forced unwanted change upon.
All right, with that, we are going to go into some Ask SlooPcast questions.
Yes. Let's lightning around these, which is a thing I say frequently but execute rarely.
Yes. Dinger says, what is your opinion on the Big Ten's explanation that allowing schools to have different number of fans in the stands amount to an unfair competitive advantage in regards to their, quote, no fans policy? And do you see this policy continuing into next year with large fan-based schools being required to artificially limit fans to whatever pathetic number Illinois or Purdue can muster for attendance?
I think you know the answer to the latter. I think you're being goofy, and I think you know that. But what do I think of it? It's just a thing I'm willing to lose right now. If this was an item that was negotiated at the table, that the people who were trying to get football back had to sort of put fans as a sacrificial lamb on the debate table, on the what's the word? The negotiation table. If that was a thing that had to die to get October football into place, that's fine. And we can look back on it now and say, man, I wish we had fan attendance. And selfishly, I do. But I think what I've seen from a lot of the SEC games and from a lot of the games that we've seen so far, you can be like, hey, everyone, wear masks and social distance in the stadiums. But by the end of the game, no one's wearing a mask and they're all crowded down as close to the field as possible. And while people in the SEC and SEC country might say, who cares? Blah, 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 blah. You know who isn't going to say, who cares? The Big Ten presidents, the Big Ten, when any chance Ohio State fans could have had of actually watching games in the shoe this year, I think have been basically ruined by some of the things we've seen down in SEC country, where Texas A&M said they had like 35,000 fans in there, but it was clearly like half of the stadium and no one's wearing masks. And like I said, by the end of the game, everyone's crowding down and they're not respecting the social distance thing. I think a lot of Big Ten officials and a lot of Kevin Warrens and a lot of school presidents saw all that happening. And I think that when they saw that happening, they said, well, that's not going to be us because we're the Big Ten.
I know you said Kevin Warren, but it almost sounded like you about said Karen Warren.
I'm not going there, Kyle. We're already over. I'm not going there.
I just wanted a reaction. That's all.
Okay. Win-loss prediction for each of the Big Ten teams, assuming all 9 games are played. Man, that's a lot for us already being over.
Didn't we cover this a few weeks ago? I thought we went through the Big Ten teams. Maybe.
I don't think we did all of them.
No, we didn't. All right, let me pull up.
Yeah, by the way, just fair warning, these aren't going to make mathematical sense. We're just going to lightning round these, okay?
All right. So 9 games.
9 games.
9 games. All right. Indiana.
3 and 6.
Okay. Maryland.
1 and 8.
Oof. 1 and 8. Oof. Sparty.
It might be better than that, but I'm not looking at their schedule. I'm making this up off the top of my head.
Sparty.
1 and 8.
I was going to say like 3 and 6.
I told you this isn't going to make mathematical sense. I'm just doing this off the top of my head.
Michigan.
5 and 4.
That's what I was thinking. 5 and 4. Penn State.
8 and 1.
Rutgers.
0 and 9.
Buckeyes.
Maybe 1 and 8. Maybe 1 and 8. I'll say
Buckeyes.
1 and 8.
Buckeyes.
9 and 0, baby.
All right. Illinois.
Do I want to give them 2 wins or do I want to give them 3 wins? What are you feeling?
1.
So we'll go 2. 2 and 7.
Iowa.
4 and 5.
Sounds about right. Minnesota.
6 and 3.
I was going to go 7 and 2.
Off the top of my head, man, I'm not. If you actually gave me time to think about this, these might be different. But I'm just doing it off the top of my head.
All right. Cornhuskers. Our good friends.
Didn't Minnesota have a pretty favorable cross-division draw?
Well, other than playing Michigan first,
Didn't they?
Yeah, they play Maryland.
And?
Michigan.
And? Isn't there 3 cross? Oh, but the third, we don't know what the third cross is.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Cornhuskers.
5 and 4? 4 and 5? Which one?
I was gonna go with 4 and 5.
All right, we'll go 4 and 5.
Wildcats.
3 and 6.
I was gonna go 2 and 7.
Yeah.
Boilermakers.
4 and 5?
I'm thinking 4 and 5 as well.
Maybe, yeah.
And the Badgers.
7 and 2?
Yep. Going 7 and 2 as well.
Man, I'd love to revisit this, but actually put thought into it. Actually look at the schedules and yeah, but oh well.
All right. That's it. That is all the questions. That is Know Your Enemy. That is
we finished Know Your Enemy a long time ago.
We did, but that is our first pregame coverage for the Ohio State 2020 season.
False. We have one more thing to do. Our good friend Stuart _E4 US Vet, who's now a Patreon, by the way, a patron via Patreon. You have me doing it now, Kyle.
You're welcome.
And longtime listeners of the show know that Kyle and I are terrible at pronouncing people's names. Stuart has sent us some Nebraska. I was supposed to do this in Know Your Enemy, but I forgot. So I'm doing it now. We'll do this in Know Your Enemy in the future. So I'm going to try and pronounce some of these names for Nebraska and mess them all up, but you guys can laugh at me, and that's fun.
All right. So Jared's going to pronounce these. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. First one here under the strong safety.
Number 8, Deontay Williams.
I think you nailed that one.
Nice.
All right. Also, the one right next to that one.
Another strong safety, number 26. I think that's Noah, which it's not spelled with an H like we're used to seeing Noah, but I'm going to go ahead and still say that's Noah. It might just be no. Sort of the 2 vowels go walking thing. Poligates. I'm going to go Noah Poligates.
Yep.
Might just be
would agree
no
with that.
Poligates. All right.
All right. The free safety.
A lot of interesting safety names. All right. Number 9, Markel Dismuke.
Dismuke? Yeah, probably with a long U.
Yeah, it's definitely a long U. I think if anything, I'm messing up the first vowel, the I in between the D and the S. Might be Desmuke. I think it's Dismuke.
Okay.
But,
all right. The punter, which I've seen the numbers change, 90 or 99, but either way, the punter.
William Pristup. Pristup.
Oh yeah, there's a Y in there.
There's a Y in there. I'm trying to pretend that Y isn't there, but it's there.
That's tough. If that Y and the Z were swapped.
Exactly. That's how I pronounced it the first time, and I swapped those two letters because that's the only way I can make it make sense. It's P-R-Z-Y-S-T-U-P.
So
and I want to do Pristup, but that's
Pristup.
That's three consonants in a row, which really shouldn't be possible. Not in English anyway, and this name is obviously not English.
Yeah. All right.
Next.
Last one all the way down on defense, a defensive end, number 49.
I'm going to go Feldarius. Feldarius Payne.
Feldarius Payne. I like it.
All right, Kyle. Now, that's the end of the show.
All right.
You know what? I think we did okay on that.
I think so too.
Nebraska does not have a lot of, I don't want to say crazy names. That's disrespectful, but I'll say difficult names. Difficult names for a pair of white boys from Ohio.
You can't pronounce names?
Oh, who are notoriously bad at pronouncing names. I think we did okay on that. It's the punter really threw us, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Want to encourage everyone, check out your t-shirt stores, both at 7071 and at SlooPcast. You can find those on your TeePublic pages. If you're looking for links to those stores, you can find it underneath the master link. Underneath that master link, you can also find links to our Patreon. We picked up 2 new Patreons since the last time we talked to you, and we're incredibly thankful for that. In honor of week 1, game week, Big Ten week 1, can we get 1 new Patreon? That's it. If you're on the verge, if you're on the edge of maybe I'll sign up, maybe I won't. Well, it's game week. Let's celebrate it. And I'm telling you right now, for the rest of October, Mad Canadian has a promo code that dwarfs the one that we're telling you publicly that he's giving to the members of our Discord. So if you're in our Discord, which you can only access via the Patreon, you sign up for Patreon, I send you a Discord link, you get into the Discord, there's an even better promo code. That's all I'm saying. I'm not telling you for how much. I'm just saying it lasts for October, and it's better than the 20% we're currently offering publicly. That's all I'm saying.
So if you think about it,
yeah, well,
save money.
Potentially. Maybe. Potentially, maybe. So, like I said, if you're on the edge, if you were like maybe just about to do it, I just want 1 new one this weekend. That's it. Just 1 new one. You can get access to basically everything for as little as $3 a month. And this is the official SlooPcast tee. It's sort of a tasteful logo just right here on the breast pocket. We're both wearing Buckeye scoop gear this episode.
Not on purpose.
No,
we didn't coordinate it.
No, yeah, I think that by not on purpose, yes. Kyle means we didn't coordinate it. No, I was just having a bad hair day. I'm wearing the hat. That's all that was. My hair is getting a little long, and my hair looks fine in the morning, but towards the evening, it doesn't look as good. So yeah, so haircut. Yeah. And by the way, I'm not sure what Buckeye Scoop does or doesn't currently have on sale, but you can check all that out. I just talk to the people on the message board. They'll let you know. Yes. But all of our other links, links to our YouTube, links to our Apple Podcast page, links to our Spotify podcast page, links to our t-shirt stores, both for SlooPcast and for 7071, which isn't podcast gear. It's just sort of like general, yay, Ohio sort of stuff, including like a bunch of stuff for smaller cities like Canton and Youngstown and Perrysburg and a bunch of places. And of course we'll have links to Mad Canadian and Iron Bean Coffee underneath the master link as well. And Kyle, that's all the shilling I feel like doing. Do you have anything in Kyle's corner?
Nothing in terms of the college football, but I will give a shout out to my hometown.
Yeah.
Columbus Grove. Best of luck to them as they move on to their second week of the Division VI Ohio high school football playoffs.
Is it possible that your Columbus Grove and the Mad Canadians carry, I assume Cary High School? I'm just going to assume that it's Cary High School. They could meet here in a couple weeks, potentially.
They technically could. They play some tough teams to get there, but there's...
Listen, if it happens, if it happens, and we don't know that it will, if it happens, we're going to have to like coordinate something between you and the Mad Canadian where like you put up a t-shirt and he puts up some spices. Like there has to be a bet.
Ooh, maybe.
Now again, we're several weeks away from that and both teams have a lot of tough games ahead of them. So that might not happen, but if it does, I think we need to do a bet. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'm just looking here. Trying to find where it's at because they keep moving this. I apologize. I should have had this well ahead of time here. Darn Ohio high school keeps changing like the seedings and all that too. Here we go. Columbus Grove plays Defiance Tenora. That's who they play. Defiance Tenora and Cary. Actually, Jared, it is. If Columbus Grove wins and Cary wins this weekend, they play each other.
Well, then there you go. I thought we had a bigger.
Yeah, I thought there was a couple more games before that, but nope. Cary plays Archbold.
All right,
who's the number 1 seed?
So we'll know by next episode if they'll be playing each other, and we should be able to work out something.
Yes.
Okay. So everyone cheer for Cary and Columbus Grove this weekend in Division VI Ohio high school football.
Yes.
All right. And I think that's it for Kyle's Corner.
That is it.
All righty then. What else do we have? Kyle, stall for me while I look up music.
Oh boy. Well, the football games, actually both of them, Cary and Columbus Grove, both play at 7 p.m. on Saturday. So you can watch some State football. And then if you're lucky enough, you can stream those football games. Awesome.
Tonight's ending music will be brought to you by a band called Narrow Arrow. They're sort of a mathy rock band, so you can check out Narrow Arrow at the end of today's show. You can check the show notes to find out what the name of the song is. I typically include some links there so you can find some more info on the band if you are interested. And as always, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Narrow Arrow. What's up, YouTube? That felt nice. We did Know Your Enemy. We picked some games. We picked some Big Ten games.
Yes.
I don't even mind that I'm a little bit sweaty right now. A little bit sweaty.
It feels right.
It does. Kyle's all in black. I'm all in gray, including the gray pants. I got gray pants on. Do you have black pants on? Lie. Kyle, do you have black pants on?
Sure, I got black pants on. Sure.
Yes, you heard it here first. Kyle's wearing black pants. Apollo, do you want to make an appearance on the show real quick before it's over? While we're just talking to the YouTube people? Come here. Do you want to be on the show? No? Okay. He's like, no, just pet my head. All right, let's rejoin our audio-only listeners. Once again, that was Narrow Arrow, and once again, I'd like to thank the Mad Canadian for sponsoring today's episode. Kyle's going to talk a little bit about the Mad Canadian.
Yes, the Mad Canadian.
I surprised him on that one.
You did, yeah.
I wasn't going to do both of them.
Yeah, the Mad Canadian has been a sponsor of the SlooPicks for the past year and is celebrating it with a special promo code of 1year20, one spello, ONEYEAR 20, 20% off your entire order. Mad Canadian has, as I mentioned in the middle of the show, what have we not said about him? Just a great guy in person,
yeah.
Great food, great seasonings, really just anything that you want to spice up your food or add that little bit of extra kick to a great barbecue. He's got you covered. The Sonoran Heat, the Cajun, the Two Border, the Discord, the Four Horsemen, just to name a few there. Be sure to check out all of his great seasonings over at the MadCanadianBBQ.com. That is the MadCanadianBBQ.com. Mad Canadian, where he has your butt covered.
This episode of the SlooPcast also brought to you by Iron Bean Coffee. They're out of Perrysburg, Ohio, which is just outside of Toledo. You can check out their stuff at ironbeancoffee.com. First thing you might notice is that the coffee costs a little bit more than some of the stuff you just buy at Walmart or whatever, but it's worth it. Why is it worth it? 1, it is a veteran-owned company. 2, coffees are made in small batches. 3, it's roast to order. That stuff's sitting on the grocery shelf. Lord knows when it was roasted. Lord knows when it was ground up. It's just been sitting there getting stale. Iron Bean Coffee roasts it after you order it. You can get it in whole bean and grind it yourself. They also sell, I believe, all of them in ground as well. But even then, it's freshly ground straight from them as opposed to ground how many months ago, like a can of frickin' Folgers or whatever. So it's freshly ground, it's freshly roasted, they have a really nice selection, it's veteran owned, it's certified fair trade, it's USDA organic, they import it straight from the farms to them. You can save some money by signing up for subscription services as opposed to one-time purchases. Let's see. I talked a little bit about the Odin during one of the previous ad breaks. Let's talk about the Thor and the Loki. The Thor is a medium dark. Thunder and lightning will course through your veins, bleed black. And for the Loki, this wet process blend is higher in caffeine, lower in acidity, rich tasting, and filled with fragrance. Citrus and floral are the dominant taste in this blend. Again, that's the Loki. They have a bunch of great selections. If you're looking for more of a flavored coffee as opposed to a traditional roast, they do have flavored coffees. They have Mom's Carrot Cake. They have the intense blueberry and the mint chocolate chip flavored coffees. So you can check those out as well. All of this and more. By the way, they have a bunch of great like mugs and apparel and stuff like that. You can also find at Iron Bean Coffee. Free shipping over $50. And again, you can subscribe and save. All of that more can be found at ironbeancoffee.com, America's local coffee roaster.